let's take a look at the homework for Mounce chapter 9. You've got some adjectives here. We have 3 different ways that an adjective can function. So I'm going to give you a bit of leeway as to how you translate these. All right? So just make a good case when you ask, is this okay? Any questions about the parsing and what the meanings of the parsed forms are? Yeah, the gender can be a bit difficult. Let's look at some examples, shall we? It can be all 3. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Now, why is it that number 1 could be all 3 genders? Yeah, remember the genitive plural case ending always swallows up or obscures the stem vowel. So you don't know whether there was an omicron or whether there was an eta or an alpha here, right? Because it's obscured by the omega. But all of the genitive plural forms are own no matter what. So that's why it could be any of the 3.
And then the noun would tell us which one.
Exactly. Exactly. So if I had something like tone, agathon, logon, with logos as the genitive plural, then what gender would you say? You could only give me one gender then, couldn't you? It'd be masculine genitive plural. That's right. Good. So, good question there. Now, let's take a look at pistos for just a moment. This has got an alpha followed by a sigma. Now, what would be the lexical form of this word? So, pistos. Is that all you're going to tell me? Okay, good. Piste and piston. This helps me to know that you know, that I know that you know, that this is an adjective. Right? All right. Now, I have a sigma on the end and a stem vowel alpha right before. What might this be in terms of its gender and declension pattern? Yeah, this looks like it could be feminine and first declension, right? If it were masculine or neuter, what stem vowel would it have? It'd have an omicron, right? Pistos, omicron. Piston, omicron, right? Those masculine neuter forms are second declension. So, do I have alpha stem vowels in the second declension anywhere? I don't really, but I can have my stem vowel obscured and the alpha case ending can take its place, right? Where does that happen? That happens in the neuter plural and the nominative and accusative. But when I have it, will I have a sigma dangling out on the back side of it? No. So I can dispense with any possibility that this is masculine or neuter, right? This is definitely a feminine and first declension noun. So if it is, then that sigma case ending could be one of 2 possibilities in the feminine first declension case endings. What are my possibilities? Okay, so I'll just jot both of those down. Genitive singular, feminine, accusative, plural, feminine. And can I choose or do I have to leave them both up? In other words, can I tell the difference between the 2 in a form like pistos? Here's where you have to go back to your nominative feminine singular form. It's piste. My stem vowel is an eta here, right? Well, work me through the declension. The singular forms, the genitive will be eta sigma, dative, eta iota, accusative, eta nu. Plurals, pisti, piston, pistis, pistos. Can you tell the difference between the genitive feminine singular and the accusative feminine plural? You can. right? If I start with eta, I stick with eta through the singular, and then I switch to alpha. Okay? It's only when I have an alpha stem that has the R, E, I before it that I'm going to see the alphas in the genitive singular and then the alpha in the accusative plural too. Okay? So I can commit myself here. I don't have to leave it ambiguous. Which one is this? It's accusative plural feminine. That's right. Okay. Now, how would I translate that? Okay. Well, there's a couple of possibilities. If this is an attributive adjective, how would I just translate it as an attributive adjective? Just faithful. Okay? And then I'd have a noun that it goes with. Faithful women, faithful sisters, and so forth, right? So as an attributive adjective, it's just whatever that adjective means, faithful. It doesn't matter if it's plural or not, because in English we don't add an S if it's plural, do we? It's just faithful. Okay? Now, if it's a substantival one, how would I want to translate this? So it could be faithful ones, faithful women, or something where I'm indicating that it's a feminine plural set of faithful ones. Okay? All right. I could also just say faithful as in faithful ones do this, faithful ones do that, right? I'd usually want to see the article there, though, if I didn't add ones, like the faithful. Right. So if this did, well, yeah, that's right. Because that's accusative and not nominative, I wouldn't even really think about that being a predicate use. If this were nominative, how would I translate it? Faithful, right? Like John is faithful. The women are faithful, right? So the predicate adjective's meaning is going to be the same as the attributive adjective's meaning if you're just translating the word's meaning, okay? All right, good. So, Sean, were there any others that you had trouble with in terms of identifying the gender or anything else? Like number 4?
Yeah, I did. Anything that was a double, I messed up on.
Mm-hmm. Well, then number 3 too?
Yeah, I did. I messed up on number 3, but I wasn't. I wasn't thinking of the chart in my head how it's the same in.
That's right. Masculine and neuters have identical endings in which 2 places? The genitive and the dative. That's right. That's right. So, well, kako is dative, isn't it? Which means that this could actually be dative singular masculine or dative singular neuter. Kosmu. Look at number 6. Could that be genitive singular masculine and genitive singular neuter? Yeah, you would say no because kosmos is not an adjective. It can't have 2 genders, can it? What is the gender of kosmos? It's masculine. It's ha kosmos. So there is only one possibility for this one, isn't there? It's got to be genitive singular masculine. Okay? So what part of speech your word is does make a difference here. If it's an adjective, you got to be thinking. Could have multiple genders. Nouns, just one. Just one. All right. Anything else on the parsing?
For the inflected meaning of cosmo.
Yeah.
Would you use this in genitive? Would you put of?
Yep. So because I don't have an article here, I won't insert one. So I would make it indefinite. Of a world would be a way to translate it. Of world. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, the cosmos would refer to the creation, but there is an actual word for the creation that Greek uses, ktisis. All right. Shall we move on? Warm-up exercises. Anybody have any questions about these? What did you guys do for letter alpha? Did y'all do faithful or believing? Ah, yes. Yes, I would think so too. Let's just talk about that for just a moment, though. Not the meaning of pistos, but where's the adjective here? It's in the middle, right? So there's my adjective. And is it articular? Yes. So can this be a predicate adjective if it's articular? Cannot. It cannot. If it's a predicate adjective, it will never be articular. But if it's anarthrous, that doesn't mean it has to be a predicate adjective. Okay? It could also be attributive, but the noun's not going to be definite either. All right? But here, it is articular. So what are my two choices? Attributive or substantival, right? Now then I have to ask myself, is there a noun that it agrees with in case, gender, number? And the answer is yes. There it is. Doulos and pistos go together. So this is attributive, and it's telling me what kind of doulos. The faithful doulos. Okay. Look at beta here. Everybody say this with me. Te trite hemera. Are there any adjectives in this phrase? Where? Which one? Which one's the adjective? Trite. All right. Very good. And is trite articular or not? It is, isn't it? And there's the article. It's got to be attributive or substantival then. Is there a noun that it agrees with? Case, gender, number. Yes. So then it must be attributive, right? And again, it's telling you something about the day. So how would we translate this? This is dative case, but there's no preposition. You got to supply something in your translation to reflect the dativeness of this expression. So what might you do? Yeah, so you could do in or on the third day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a dative with reference to time. So it's basically specifying the location and time, right? So if I had te trite hora, then you wouldn't say on the third hour, but in the third hour. So which time word we're talking about is going to dictate in English what's going to be the better way to go. Okay? So, I mean, just because you did, in the third day and he did on doesn't mean that you were necessarily thinking the wrong way. I want to encourage you with that. Okay. Anybody have any questions about any of these other ones? I'm happy to work through ones you have problems with, and if you don't have problems, then we'll just drill a little bit on some of these. Any questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
On the hay, warm up. So I think where I messed up was I put that in the attributive, or I thought it was attributive. Is that substantival? I put in the faithful God.
Uh-huh. Ah, right. So where's my adjective?
It's faithful.
Okay, it's pistos. Good. Is it articular? No. Then it could be a predicate adjective, can't it? Now, if there were an article, it'd have to not be. Okay. Now look at what I have here. I have hatheos. Is that noun articular? Okay. So if the noun is articular, and I have an attributive adjective, the attributive adjective has to be articular with it. Okay. And notice it's not sandwiched in between these two, and it's not hatheos, ha pistos, is it? Which is the other attributive position. So neither of those are working for us. So it's not attributive. This is going to be the predicate adjective. Predicate adjectives are always anarthrous, aren't they? And the subject now could be articular or not, but here it's articular. So God is faithful. There's no copula, is there? So we got to supply that in our English translation. So, but or now God is faithful. All right. If I moved pistos over and put it right after God, would that change anything? Did I hear yes or no? No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't, because the noun would still be articular, the adjective would still be anarthrous. This would be a predicate adjective. Okay? All right. Other questions?
So if there was an article in front of that pistos, it would be the faithful God?
Okay. If there were an article in front of this, then I would have an incomplete sentence, wouldn't I? Because that would have to be, this adjective couldn't be a predicate adjective, so the sentence can't be something is faithful or someone is faithful. It would have to tell me something else. Okay, now, if it were the faithful God, I would expect the hapistos to go after hatheos, right? Or I'd expect pistos to be sandwiched in between the article and the noun. So what I would have to understand if I had this would be something like, now God is the faithful one. In other words, this is articular, so it's either attributive or substantival. And if it is really on the other side of a copular verb that's not overt, then it's a substantival use, the faithful one, the faithful God, really. But since God would be the subject, and this is the predicate, that would be, God is the faithful one. That'd be the best way to translate it. Okay, great. Any other questions about the warm-up exercises?